today's topic is a balanced and economical feeding of sheep and goats. There is huge demand for meat or meat products in the country, even though the mutton cost is 600 plus rupees. So, in recent days, intensive system of rearing of small ruminants is one of the options due to scarcity of grazing land. It is therefore important to pay close attention for feed cost and also weight gain. So, and also market value for the additional weight gained in the particular time frame. So rise in cost of feed ingredient is forcing the farmers to opt unconventional and economical feed ingredients necessary to formulate economical rations using locally available rations, which are locally available. I have listed few Indian goat breeds where the weaning weight you can see here 12 kg, Malabar it is 9 kg, Barbar it is 6 kg. So it varies from 4 to 12 kg. But with good feeding and good potential, they can achieve more than 12 kg. I have seen in the field a 3-month beetle kid or a 3-month the Sirohi kid can achieve more than 15 kg with good feeding and good management. So the different components of meat production are prolificacy, growth rate, and feed conversion efficiency, and type of conformation of the animal. So coming to the prolificacy, number of lambs raised per use is the most important factor determining the efficiency of the production, because a single kid, if it is born, it will gain very high body weight in the pre-weaning weight or the post-weaning weight, because it will be getting more amount of milk for it. But if the animal is kidding or lambing more offsprings, if it is 2 or 3, there will be competition for the milk produced by the eaves or does. So then the growth rate will be minimal. During that time, we must see or we must intervene with creep feeding, so that if we feed the creep feed, sale of that particular breed or particular kids or lambs can be higher. So growth rate and feed conversion efficiency, where the weight of lambs at 180 days, that is 6 months of age, is generally used for the preliminary selection purpose. But nowadays, in market also, only 6 to 8 months lambs or kids are fetching high rate. If they are aged, if they are more than 1 year, automatically the market, the middlemen, they will reduce the cost. The digestive system of sheep and goat, where the we have 3 stages mainly, like pre-ruminant stage, the transitional phase, and the adult stage. In case of pre-ruminant stage, that is up to 3 weeks, the rumen will be not developed. The only working component of the stomach is abomasum. So when the animal is milking, the drinking milk from mother's teats, the milk will be directed towards the abomasum through ruminoreticular groove. So then the digestibility will be more. So the during pre-ruminant phase, the growth will be higher. So as in case of 3 to 8 weeks of age, it is a transition phase where the rumen start developing. Means at 8 weeks, after 8 weeks or 12 weeks, if you see, the rumen will be more in proportion, whereas the abomasum will be less in proportion. As early as possible, you must start creep feeding. So if the creep feeding we start, again there are so many factors which influences the rumen development. So as early as you start concentrate feeding, the rumen will be developed very well. So if the rumen is developed very well, they start consuming the feed or the fodder in good amount. If the rumen is not developed well, the capacity of consumption or the dry matter intake will be lesser. So that's why always we should intervene and we should start creep feeding or the milk replacer at an early age to achieve maximum growth rate during the pre-weaning period. Why we need to intervene after 3 weeks is, so this is in our study, we could able to see there in case of cattle and buffalo, we can see after 60 days there will be we say it is a peak lactation or peak of the lactation. So whereas in case of sheep and goat, usually during second or third week there will be peak, again it starts declining. Only during first to second week it will be increasing the milk yield. After second to third week it start declining. So but the requirement of milk or requirement of nutrients will be more as the kids grows. So that's why the milk production will be less and the requirement will be more. That's why after 3 weeks we must start creep feeding to the animals. Means after 3 weeks means after 15 to 20 days, we should they will start nibbling. So we should keep a bowl of or a pan of concentrate in the pen of lambs or kids. So here you can see the animals which are fed only milk, how is the rumen or abomasum, and the animals which are fed semi-solid the concentrate feed. So rumen and abomasum, all the organs are well developed. So we could achieve very good body weight in the kids which are fed semi-solid diet, whereas the kids which are fed only mother's milk and greens, we could not achieve much body weight. It was only 7 to 8 kg after 3 months of age. So you can see here how what is the difference between only milk fed animal and concentrate fed animal, that is pre in the pre-ruminant stage up to 3 months only. So you can see how the reticulum developed, how the abomasum is developed. See, if the capacity of the rumen or abomasum, or you can see papillae here, the shape of the, like, so if the capacity of the rumen, reticulum, abomasum is more, the intake will be more, the surface area of the villi in the rumen will be more, then the absorption will be more. That's why as early as possible the rumen should be developed very well, so that the surface area will also be increased, the absorption capacity of the rumen will also be increased. That's why we should start feeding creep feed to the lambs or kids as early as possible, with a good amount of protein, that is 20 to 22% protein we should keep in the creep feed. So if the feed is not balanced, the flock productivity decreases. We can see the lower weight gains in case of kids or lambs. We can see the abortions due to imbalanced feeding. We can see poor nursing ability of the mother because the milk yield will be lesser. So the low immunity, the animals may die. So nutritional disorders, there are so many nutritional disorders which are listed later. And also mortality is a main problem in case of small animals if the nutrition is not proper. So we will be usually confusing with different diseases, but actually the whenever we see in the field, the animals, the kids or lambs are more like anemic because of not only solo crop feeding or only the greens feeding, such kind of things, and they will be keeping in the shed, and they will not be able to access to the soil also, they will not be able to graze also. That type only solo crop they will be feeding. So that time the lambs will be anemic and they will die of nutritional disorders. So nutritional disorders are due to excess feeding also, and also deficiency and also imbalance feeding of nutrients. So few of the nutritional disorders are bloat, lactic acidosis because of high grain intake, ketosis because of negative energy balance, urolithiasis because of calcium and phosphorus imbalance, milk fever. The urolithiasis is more common in case of sheep and goat, especially in case of males. So milk fever, that is because of calcium deficiency. Hypomagnesemia, that is after lambing, the mothers will be affected. White muscle disease because of selenium and vitamin E deficiency. So other disorders are enlisted here: blindness, then wool eating, thick dry patches on the skin and dandruff, hoof deformity, stiff joints, swollen feet, hair loss, then excess salivation due to zinc and sulfur deficiency, tearing of eyes because of sulfur deficiency. So also paralysis of hind legs, abortions, stillbirths, rough hair coat because of copper deficiency, airless fetus you can see in the aborted fetus, that is because of iodine deficiency, retention of placenta, pica because of potassium, phosphorus and salt deficiency, low milk because of magnesium, so knuckling, four-leg deformity, reluctant to walk, all these are because of manganese deficiency. You can see now what is the importance of balancing a feed or ration for the small ruminants. So making feeding the economical, we must cultivate the legume in our fields, because farmers, they will be going for only solo crop. Like if they grow this napier or super napier, they will only feed the super napier, they will only feed the jowar, they will only feed the uh, maize. They will be in wrong conception. We must say them, so what is the content of maize or the jowar or super napier, what exactly the legume is having. So we must promote such legumes. For example, we have moringa, we have hedgelucan, we have susbania, even cowpea. So there are so many annual and perennial legumes. They must be grown along with cereal crops. So utilizing locally available feed resources like pulse crop residues, for example, the groundnut residues you can use in cowpea residues, even tur dal residues you can use. So many residues you will get in a locally available markets, or even with the farmers in different regions. We can get different types of residues. So not to procure roughages from long distances. So we must see what is the price, what is the rate. So we must calculate. Yeah, always the farmer should maintain a diary, or in mobile he should open an page where he can note down what is the rate of different fodder crops, or what is the rate of feed ingredients which he is feeding. Ultimately we must able to see what whether the farm is in good farm is in profit or in loss. So usually what farmers are doing, few farmers, if they have good amount of money, they will bring everything. They will feed liver tonics, they will feed calcium supplements, they will feed legumes, roughages, all kind of feed stuffs they will feed. But ultimately the lambs or the sheep will also grow well, but ultimately the farm will be in loss. So main idea of our balancing or economical feeding is the feed cost must be reduced. So that can be done using locally available ingredients and locally available roughage residues, and also the legumes. So in case of small sized farm, we must not use silage whose cost of production is higher than fresh forages. So that is very true. So silage production cost higher than cultivating a green or the cereal and legume crop together. If they, in case of small size farms, it is nearly 600 to 700 rupees per quintal, the silage cost which they are selling in field in this area. So if the farmer is desired to feed the silage to any adult animal, so a sheep and goat, he must feed minimum 2 to 3 kg of silage. So if he is feeding 2 kg of silage also, he will be he has to pay nearly around 12 rupees per day for silage itself. And also if he is feeding 100 to 200 gram concentrates also, there he has to pay 3 to 4 rupees. So around 15 rupees per day if he is spending on feeding, then it will be a huge loss for him. So even hydroponic powder is not required because of it is having less dry matter and also expensive than other cultivated forages. So a cost of maize feeding is economical than growing hydroponic fodder using the same maize grains. So it is also laborious process. So if we have good amount of land, so better to grow good fodders instead of having hydroponic unit for passion. So if feed is not economical, production cost increases, resulting in low net profits. So if feed is not balanced and not economical, the sustainability is very difficult in zero grazing, because the farmer ultimately, if he's keeping the animal for 6 months, if you say in case of ram lamb fattening, so what is ultimately he is getting, how much profit he is getting, because based on that profit only he will be going for future batches. If he is not getting a good amount of profit, he will think of leaving that industry, or leaving that job of rearing sheep and goats. So many farms with losses they have closed, even with a huge investment. So that's why sustainability is very much important. So we must see for profit of farming. It depends on flock productivity, production cost, sale price of lambs or kids. So if you say these factors here, flock productivity is also important, because see selection of animal is very much important. So even the depending on body coats also, you can see whether the animal is having good the average Deligan or not. If the animal air coat, based on animal air coat only, farmers must be able to say whether the animal is good or not. So based on these few characteristics, the length of the animal, thickness in the back fat thickness, the hair coat. So true to breed characteristics must be there. So if in kangaroo, if you say in literature, we will see the weaning weight or 3 months body weight is 15 kg. Whereas in case of farmers field, we are observing and we are witnessing they are getting more than 20 kg in 3 months lambs. So that much productive our animals are. Even Indian animals are capable to, if you capable to produce very high average daily gain compared to the foreign animals, because we are crossbreeding with different foreign breeds for higher body weight gains. Whereas you take our own Indian breeds, in our farm we have Sirohi, a 1 year uh, the male animal which is weighing more than 60 kg. So such type of selection should be there. Coming to ration balancing, so we must have a series of procedures in ration balancing, where we must prepare a list of requirements of all nutrients to be considered under the given circumstances and target the animals, which animals we are feeding, whether we are feeding adult animals, whether we are feeding only rams, whether we are feeding the kids. So based on that, the requirement should be calculated. That is, the requirements of animals is available in sheep and goat requirement ICR standards. It is available. So based on the body weight, based on the physiological status of the animal. So after that, determine the feeds that are available locally. So based on that, we must formulate and we must consult the available use of that particular produce in that area. So after that, prepare a list of nutrient composition of that feeds and fodders which are available in the local area, and obtain feed costs at different sites, and get a cheap cost or minimal cost at the site of mixing. Because the same like GNC groundnut cake, which is the 3,500 rupees quintal in some area, in some factory, whereas it is 3,800 rupees in some factory. But even the quality matters. So the 3,500 one will not be much having much quality, whereas the 3,800 will be having good quality. So instead of going for the lesser one, you can with a 200 rupees you will get very good quality that GNC. So you must see and you must calculate based on the quality and also cost. So proceed to balance the ration using the guides for nutrient requirement of the sheep and goat type based on their age, physiological condition, etc. So for example, the feed requirements of sheep and goat. So if the sheep is weighing 35 kg, based on the DMI requirement, that is dry matter intake, in, based on body weight. So it needs a minimum of 3% of that body weight. It needs the dry matter, that comes around 900 gram. The TDN is 450 gram, DCP 45 gram. Likewise, different body weight animal, there will be different requirements. So that is available in the internet, also in different literatures also. Based on this, you can calculate how much the particular animal is required. So you know all of this, whether what is concentrate, roughage, and unconventional feeds. So there are different feed stuffs. We talk about so many things which are not practical, but practically we must have some idea what we need to feed and what not to feed. So this is a chart of showing the nutrient composition of different byproducts like rice bran, maize bran, molasses, soybean meal, cottonseed cake, maize, and soybean, which are commonly used ingredients. But these are all nowadays very costly. Maize, you say it is 2,000 rupees per quintal. Soybean, it is more than 5,000 rupees per quintal. So groundnut cake, it is more than 4,000 rupees per quintal. That's why we are looking for alternatives. Like nowadays, the maize is fetching very high rate, because the maize is a main ingredient for so many other industries like ethanol production. So there is huge requirement for maize in ethanol industry. So that's why what we have to use, that is very much important. This is how we balance the ration. So first you have all the deficiencies which should be corrected, whether means the ration should have one minimum one the protein acious diet, that is oil cake, either GNC or cottonseed cake or soybean meal or any other locally available, maybe it is linseed cake or sesame cake, anything. So whether if anything is excess, so that should be reduced. So whether the formula appear to be most economical combination of feeds, we must see if it is coming like more oil seed cake, then the cost of that feed will be definitely higher. That's why we must see even the cereal crops and the oil cakes, and we must calculate based on the rates and also composition. So usually we use a Pearson square method, where you can see in this, for example, we have used two ingredients, that is corn and cotton seed cake. Cotton seed cake, that is 40 parts, and corn 9 parts. We need the center one is 16, that is we need 16% of CP in our ration. So corn CP is 9, and cotton seed CP is 40. So proportions we must add is 20. If you divide 40 by 16, you will get 24. So out of 100, likewise you must calculate how much parts of corn we should include, and how much parts of cotton seed cake we must include. So basic, it is a basic nutritional calculation, which I think everyone knows. So if we have more than two ingredients, then based on the composition, we can go for inclusion. Like firstly, we must know how much quantity of corn should be added, how much quantity of wheat bran should be added. If two ingredients are for energy source, if two ingredients are for protein source, we must first divide how much the quantity should be, the cotton seed cake or the soybean meal. So likewise, you can calculate the ration for different animals. So this is about ration balancing. So if we do not balance, as I mentioned, there are so many problems. Or definitely the animal will have a bad impact on their growth, bad impact on their physiological performance or reproductional performance. So we must balance a very good feed. So coming to the next part of this webinar, that is economical feeding. So what are all the different feed stuffs which we can use for economical feeding? I have enlisted so many things here, which we have conducted some experiments, and which we are seeing every day in the field. The first one is wet or dry distiller grains, poultry carcass meal, broiler goat feeding, sweet potato feeding, maize cob powder feeding, cereals feeding, Moringa oleifera, hedge lucerne, COFS fodder, jackfruit leaves and fruits, silage making, and rice grains feeding, and also ragi silage, which is also a interesting one. I'll show in the future. So coming to utilization of distillers grains, as I mentioned you, the maize requirement is very high for ethanol production. So this distiller grains is a byproduct or co-product of ethanol production from maize or wheat, with most interesting for the sheep producers, because they have the greatest potential for application as a feedstuff, because it is having more than 20% CP usually on dry matter basis. Either you will get it in a wet form, or you will get it in a dry form. But wet form, the distillers grain will be having few disadvantages, because keeping quality will be very less. Within a week you must you must use that distillers grain. So the dry distiller grain, if you are getting, then it will be very good for animals. The main problem is, if they are procuring this distillers grain, the farmers start feeding ad libidinum. That is a major issue why the animals are facing problem. So they must know, the farmer must know how much quantity the distillers grain should be fed. Even in foreigns, they are going up to 50% of distillers grains in the feed, whereas we are saying nearly 20 to 30% we should be added. So we conducted an experiment where we found 20% distillers grains inclusion is better compared to the 30% or 40%, because as on we increase the percent of inclusion of wet distillers grains, there will be so many adverse effect on the rumen. There will be diarrhea because of high water content in it. So there will be diarrhea, there will be then bloatiness. So all these problems should be there. So up to 20 to 25% we can include in the feed stuff. We can easily replace the maize, which is costing nearly 20 rupees per kg nowadays, and this distilled grains will cost you around 6 to 8 rupees per kg. So this is a fodder production in case of Yadgir district, our district. In our single district, we have a deficit of 30% of fodder deficiency. So that's why we thought of going for feeding these distilled grains in case of sheep and goats. So you can see here the crude protein of distilled grains which we procured is which we procured from Hyderabad only. So it was around 21.53%. So dry matter is less, that is 36%. So it is having very good amount of the protein compared to maize. We included 10%, 20 and 30%. I think we could get around 22 to 23 kg in case of 20% compared to 30%. So it is some 3 kg more than the control. So we could achieve very good average daily gain, that is 160 gram per day, compared to the 10% and 30%, where you can see very less, not very less, some 20 gram lesser ADZ in case of sheep lambs. So some diarrheal incidents were more in case of 30%. Incidents of bloat was more, and mortality was also observed in case of 30% inclusion of wet distilled grains. So coming to cost, you can say the net profit by feeding this wet distilled grains up to 20%, it is you can get around 700 rupees higher compared to the control group, where the cost of production was also more, and also the net profit was only 900 rupees. It is almost double in case of inclusion of this distilled grains, because we will reduce automatically up to 10 rupees or 12 rupees per kg of maize. So wet distilled grains is a fermented product and byproduct of ethanol production. It has more practical implication for a small and medium-sized sheep producers because of its cost effectiveness. Raising lambs by feeding distilled grains with 20% inclusion will be highly beneficial, economical in terms of growth, health, and cost of feeding under stall feeding system. This distilled grains will also improve the digestibility, because it is a fermented product. It will the bioavailability of the nutrients will be more. It will act more like a bypass protein. So coming to the next one, that is utilization of poultry carcass meal, which you can see in Kerala and Tamil Nadu especially, which on that we conducted an experiment where poultry carcass meal can be one of the viable protein source because of its high protein content and also indispensable essential amino acid. When we say about carcass meal, there will be a question where whether feeding of carcass meal is advised in case of ruminant. Actually, there are so many rules and regulations where you can say the same species meat or carcass meal cannot be used for the same species, whereas there are no any transferable diseases from poultry to ruminants or poultry to sheep and goat. That's why it can be effectively used. And also this meal is produced at high temperature under condensers. So there will be very more than 100-degree temperature will be there, where this carcass and wastes of poultry will be boiled. So that's how there are no any such bacteria or viruses which will sustain that high temperature. So it will be like sterilized. So the chicken carcass meal is a sterile and economical unconventional feed source which can be incorporated in the feed of ruminants, replacing costly conventional protein sources. Like we can easily replace soybean meal or groundnut cake. So how it is prepared? Dead poultry birds. There are huge number of dead poultry birds available in Tamil Nadu and also the southern part of Karnataka because of natural death, not normal mortality. So using that birds and also the poultry slaughterhouses waste, we can use. It will go for rendering, where it will extract chicken fat. Out of the chicken fat, the poultry carcass meal we can obtain for feeding the animals. There will be production of biodiesel out of this chicken fat. It will have positive impact on the environment. Instead of throwing dead birds or dead carcass waste in the open environment. So you can see here different authors, they have studied the nutrient composition of this carcass meal, especially poultry carcass meal, where you can see in all the cases you can observe it is having more than 60% crude protein. I don't think any other the protein sources like soya bean or cottonseed cake or groundnut cake are having this much high protein content in it. And also it is heated up at a very high temperature. It will also act as a bypass protein. So you can see here we have replaced almost 10% of soybean meal and also cottonseed cake with this poultry carcass meal. So we could get very good results in case of the Malabari kids. You can see here. So up to 20 kg we could get in 24 weeks. That is 6 months of age. Whereas in case of conventional or normal feeding, you can get only 12 to 13 kgs. So it is a huge difference. So even coming to the economics also, you can get a very good profit out of it by using this poultry carcass meal as a protein source. So this is how we can use. I think it is available in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Different slaughterhouses are there. They are producing this carcass meal. So poultry carcass meal contains excellent source of supplemental protein with high calcium and phosphorus levels. The digestibility of protein is quite high, and it passes through the rumen without being degraded. And the sheep feeding is with blood and meat meal may decrease the cost of protein supplementation while providing lamb performance better than soybean based diet. Starter feed incorporating chicken carcass meal as a protein source was more economical compared to starter feed incorporated with soybean and gingerly oil cake as the protein source during the post weaning period in our experiment. Because a kg of soybean meal will cost you around 40 rupees, whereas this carcass meal will cost you around 9 to 10 rupees. Including transportation, it will go up to 12 rupees. Even if you pay 15 rupees also, it is very economical compared to soybean and groundnut. So coming to the next technology, that is broiler goat production system. You can observe here two photographs. One is the kid with a mother and the kids feeding in a bottles, where the kids are weaned at 15 days of age and they are fed milk replacers or the concentrate feed directly. So it is a technology first developed by Indian Institute of Spices Research. So from where we took this technology and we could test it, and we got a very good result where you can have the finely ground broiler concentrate feed, which should have more than 20% crude protein, and you can include the rice gruel. Rice gruel is a water which is left over after cooking the rice. That rice gruel you can use for this finely ground broiler concentrate. You can mix it, you can directly feed to the animals as such, or you can include the milk also, and you can feed in the milk bottle. So the animal feed grade sodium bicarbonate should be added, the fish oil should be added, the liver tonic should be added, then clean drinking water should be added. Though this technology is very costly, but you will get very high body weight in short period. So that's how it is economical. So this is a ingredient composition. To have more than 20% cp, you should have 40. It is a creation composition where you can have energy source, that is maize 45%, ginger ale 18%, soybean meal 24%, wheat bran 10%, mineral mixture 2%, and salt. So it will be a very good creep feed or starter for sheep and goats. So you can see here how was the growth trend in case of kids which we fed broiler goat, that is orange color, and which we fed the control, which we fed greens and mother's milk, that is blue color. So you can see average daily gain decreased after second week of feeding, because as soon as we wean the kids will be under stress, the lambs will be under stress. That's why weaning stress we call it. So before weaning, we must we must adopt the kids or lambs for the coarse feeding or grains feeding. So if we are feeding grains or concentrates, we may not observe this fall in average daily gain or body weight. So if we want to wean the animals, so before 15 days, we must try to make them they are self-sufficient. They should live on their own by having very good ration of starter or creep ration. So this is how we got around 15 kg in case of 3 months in the Malabari male kids, whereas in control group it was only 7 kgs. Even all the parameters, including dressing percentage, carcass weight, everything was higher in case of broiler goat technology. So compared to the natural system of rearing, broiler goat production system increased the feed conversion ratio, average deli gain, and body weight gain. Broiler goat production system could produce 15 kg in by 12 weeks compared to 7 kg in natural rearing system. In this system, production of the dressing percentage was also higher. Chivan product was tender with less goatee odor. Though the cost of broiler goat diet was high, the cost benefit ratio of 1 is to 0.176 compared to 0.151 in natural rearing system makes this an economical system. The time and economic factors, the improve quality of Shivan makes this system a promising one for future perspective, because we are having less grazing lands nowadays. So coming to one more technology, which also I came to know yesterday only by Ashok sir. So as he was mentioning, this sweet potato is an excellent source of livestock feed, which the farmers in few farmers in Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh they are using. And vines and roots are used as an excellent source of animal feed. It is high in starch, protein, and vitamins. There are many hybrid varieties available in Indian conditions. The crop is either perennial or multi-cut hybrids, which are available with farmers only. So in 1 acre of land you can get around 140 to 160 metric tons of fodder per year. So it is a fact. So even I talked with a farmer today morning. So production cost is very less, that is 0.2 rupees per kg of fodder production. I think none of the fodders we can grow at this less cost. So dry matter is 75%, crude protein is 18 to 20%. So the vines, foliage, and the roots can be used as a fodder for cattle, sheep, goat, pig, poultry, and rabbit production without any adverse effect on growth, either milk or meat production. It helps in saving production cost for smallholders and sustains low producing milk and meat animals effectively. It also can be used as a silage in lean period. So you can observe the photograph here. This is sweet potato. I think everyone will be knowing it. The above one you can see the leaves are the fodder which we can get from the sweet potato. I think it can be a promising fodder for sheep and goat farmers in future days. So many farmers are nowadays adopting this technology or sweet potato growing as a fodder for sheep and goat. Even if you feed this crop, you can completely stop using grains or cereals, means concentrate feeds. You can give this crop because it is having good amount of protein and also a fiber in it. So coming to the next technology, where in central part of Karnataka and few parts of Andhra, where the maize production is higher. So after getting this maize grains, the maize cobs will be left over. That is definitely useless in case of villages. But some industries and the thermal plants, they are using that for the heat purpose or heat as a heat source. So maize crops are byproduct of maize crop consisting of central fibrous ratchets of female inflorescence. That is central the crop which we observe, the white part which is left over after removing the seeds. So ground maize crops can be fed ad libitum either as a mash or pelleted as the roughage for adult sheep with up to 250 gram per day of concentrate. It can be used as either the roughage also and concentrate also without any deleterious effect. But pelleting improves nutrient utilization. Pelleting with either molasses or urea salt will improve definitely its nutrient contents. You can see here the amount of crude protein is 4%, the dry matter is 90%, the crude fiber is 34%. So which makes this as an economical the feed stuff. I think hardly no one asks money for that crops. If we want to take the crop, it is easily available with all the farmers, where the farmers, even they are not having animals, they will easily give these crops that can be used by the farmers of small ruminant rearing. About 180 kg of cobs are obtained from each ton of maize shelled. After shelling, it can be obtained. So maize cobs are not very palatable to ruminants. Adding 1% molasses may help to improve the intake. So this is about maize cob powder. So coming to the pearl millet feeding in sheep and goats, you can see the farmers, small scale farmers especially, they won't go for concentrate feeding or different fodder crops. They will go for grazing, and evening after coming home, they will feed this pearl millet or solely. They will not add anything to it, or they will not ground it. Solely, they will feed this pearl millet. It is having 12% crude protein and 3% crude fiber. So cost per quintal of this pearl millet is rupees 1,400 rupees. Feeding per day means every day they will feed 100 to 150 grams of this pearl millet. It will act as an energy source after grazing. After coming home, they will just supplement it with the powder. So cost per day of feeding this pearl millet is around 2 rupees per animal. Weight gain is 80 to 100 gram per day. Means by supplementing with this pearl millet, you can increase minimum 20 to 30 grams of average daily gain per day. So pearl millet grain replaced up to 10% of corn silage or maize grain in dairy cows or mature goat diets with no deleterious effect on the dry matter intake. Because pearl millet in some seasons it is available in very cheap cost, up to 1,200 rupees. Also we can get this pearl millet per quintal. So you can it can be used by small scale farmers. So establishment of fodder blocks is a very important thing for this zero grazing farmers, where instead of going for solo crop or single crop, they must have this leguminous and non-leguminous fodder crops, and also the fodder trees, especially goat farmers, because the goats usually likes leafy greens like hedgelucan, suspenia, and also this moringa. So styloxanthus also. If you leave the goats in grazing land, they will directly go to such kind of greens instead of the cereal crops or napiers. Such fodder blocks we must have hedgelucan, styloxanthus, COFS 29 Coimbatore fodder sorghum, that is very palatable and having very good yield. That is a cereal crop. So multi-cut variety. So 31 is also very good. It is available. Susbania. Along the bunds, you can observe in the photograph. It is taken in our farm only. So where we are growing all kind of fodders for sheep and goats. So yield is also very good per cut. It is 13 tons in case of Hedgelucan, Siloxanthus it is 18, COFS it is 13 per cut. Means per cut means after 45 days of sowing. Means every 40 to 45 days you can harvest this crops. So it is very economical to feed such kind of mixed, that is leguminous and non-leguminous fodders. If you have such kind of fodder blocks, no need to go for extra protein source or energy source. We have observed very good body weight gain in case of lands where they used all kind of fodders compared to solo crop or single crop of greens. So up to 2 kgs of additional weight they got. So average daily gain also it was increased. So nearly 500 to 600 means per kg live weight gain it will be it will fetch you 350 rupees. Means 2 kg live weight gain increasing with the same amount of land with the same animals, so it will fetch you 600 rupees more. That's why in the same quantity of land or same amount of land, how variety how quality fodder you grown is an important thing. So even it is a feedback from farmers. Having good fodder yield and year-round fodder harvesting can be done using all these fodders. Sheep likes very much when fed in mixed ration of leguminous and non-leguminous fodder compared to single crop. It increases weight gain in lambs and also milk yield in case of buffaloes. You can see here different plots where we tested only single crop of COFS, single crop of Hedgelucan, and we tested 2:1 ratio, that is COFS 31 Hedgelucan, and also mixed cultivation of COFS and Hedgelucan. Here once the farmer or labor is going for harvesting, he can harvest in a bundle of fodder. He will be having both the cereals and leguminous fodder, where he can be it can be directly fed to the animals after chopping. So after this, jackfruit leaves and seeds, it is useful in some parts of Karnataka and Kerala. They are regularly using it for goats, especially goats likes this jackfruit leaves. So even the seeds can be powdered and it can be used. You can see here crude protein is more than 10% in both leaves and seeds. Leaves were always well consumed by animals, and diets allowed a daily weight gain of 30 to 84 gram per day in different studies. So animal performance depend on the quality of diet and on the level of other supplements or amount of jackfruit leaves it is consumed. So jackfruit leaves could replace up to 25 to 50% of concentrate in pasture or pasture-based rations. You can see here many scientists have observed how the leaves and fruits and jackfruit wastes are being used in sheep and goat, and they could achieve very good body weight without any effect. So these are different studies which are conducted using this jackfruit leaves, fruit silage, and jackfruit waste silage. Even seeds can be used. So after this, ragi silage, so the whole crop can be used as a silage. So even ragi straw is having very good amount of the crude fiber and also 6% to 7% crude protein. So the ragi straw is usually used as a the byproduct from agriculture as a fodder for animals. Hay will be used, hay or straw. So fodder trees, that is Susbania, Moringa oleifera, both are very good. So having very good amount of protein. Moringa, you can see everywhere in India, the people are talking about moringa. Moringa is having very good mineral content also in it. That's why if you feed Moringa oleifera, so you can even reduce supplementing with concentrates and mineral mixture. So weight gain is very high in the goats fed with Susbania and Moringa oleifera, because the animals likes, compared to neem, the farmers which they are practicing commonly, the neem leaves they feed. So instead of that, if they go for Susbania and Moringa oleifera, the palatability is very good, and the body weight gain or profit will be higher compared to other tree leaves. And about ragi silage, so you can make such silage using different cereal crops by at small scale using this plastic bags, or even drums can be utilized. So but not everywhere it is not economical. Only when the requirement is, then only you go for silage. As I said in the earlier slides, it is always not economical to feed silage in small scale farms. So these are different photographs in field. So even area-based mineral mixture you must include if you are not supplementing with compound concentrate feed. It is available from NIA-NP Bangalore. So for differently for goat and sheep, because there are so many disorders or deficiencies, or even the disease conditions which occur due to this imbalance mineral in the body. That's why the area based and species based mineral mixtures are available. You must use that. It will definitely have good effect on either a health and also growth. So one farmer, I always ask him to stop giving rice, but he always denies, because whenever the animals goes for grazing every day, after coming home evening, he will feed the rice grains, the broken rice grains. It will cost around 6 to 10 rupees, depending on different areas in the market, because it is easily available in societies, rural societies. So they feed this rice grains, broken rice grains for the lambs. So they don't feed anything else. Only they will feed. If you're not feeding anything else, at least you feed some amount of this rice grains. At least 100 gram or 150 gram of rice grains can be fed. which will act as an energy source for the animals after consuming lots of greens. So it will definitely have positive effect on the growth, and also it will improve the farm economy. So broken rice was also found to be fed in different parts of country and in different countries. So instead of concentrate, it can be given at minimum quantities, or even it can be mixed with other greens or all seeds. It will have positive effect. Final one is the TMR feeding. The result of combining all the ration components in one mix is known as a complete ration or total mixed ration. TMR contains a weighed amount of all the diets, as we saw how to balance the nutrients for different animals. This TMR must have all the ingredients, because when you feed the animals with greens and dry roughage and concentrate, the animal will first consume the concentrates. So once the stomach is full, then they will not definitely consume these roughages. So that's why whenever you are feeding, you must have this feeding strategy to make TMR a blend of forages, commodities, and supplements formulated to specific nutrient requirement and offered free choice, where if each bite of a TMR will have all the nutrients, protein, then energy, then mineral mixture, everything should be there in each amount of feed. So the purpose of feeding TMR is to ensure that each mouthful of feed consumed by the eve is complete and nutritionally balanced. So many advantages are there. Use of wide variety of feedstuffs and commodities, no sorting of feeds or ration, which is nutritionally balanced, steady and state the rumen conditions, no separate feeding of vitamins, minerals, and additives or grains. It can be directly mixed in the TMR. It improves the production per unit of concentrate. It reduces the digestive upsets, especially when the animals are off fed, grains are more fed, then acidosis and bloat conditions will be there. Some of the disadvantages are cost of equipment is high, the ration balance point and grouping strategies is required. The farmer should be experienced. Special attention required for ration formulation, feed analysis, and silage moisture content testing. So limited ability to handle the dry hay. So that's why our farmers in local area here, they are using such. I have put an picture here that is commonly used for cement mixing. So they are using such kind of equipment. It is available to at very cheap cost, 20 to 30,000 rupees. So they are using dry roughages. In the first picture, you can see jowar straw and concentrate feeds and greens. Everything they will put in this machine, either electrically or handheld. It will be mixed and it will be fed to the sheep and goat. So that is how the farmers are feeding in field level. So TMR, the roughage parts should be 60 to 65 parts, and concentrate mix should be 35 to 40 parts, up to 40% of total dry matter intake. So it should include salt, mineral mixture, sodium bicarbonate, ammonium chloride, copper sulfate, and coccidiostat to avoid coccidiosis, because this TMR will be having more moisture if it is in fresh basis. If it is in pellet form, it will have very good impact compared to fresh basis TMR. But palatability is more in fresh basis. So these are different feedstuffs which we can use for making TMR. So supplementing something than nothing with locally available ingredients will keep the animals healthy, and it will fetch profit to the farmers. So this is our FPO, where farmers, these are all practices which I discussed today. Many of them are practiced by our own farmers. Thank you very much. Here you can see the subabul crop behind, and we are explaining different fodder crops to the goat rearing humans in our district.